that one of the worst things that you can do to yourself is lying. So, being truthful or holding the truth, that are two best policies according to me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into recruitment? How did you get started in this field?
I started my recruitment journey back in, you can say it was in 2021 when I started working with Netcom. We were a third party, affiliate of Huawei. We were working on RSC and GSC. So RSC is your regional service center and GSC is your global service center. So we were hiring for that. And the primary functions that I was associated with was recruitment and payroll in that organization.
What do you enjoy most about your role as a recruiter?
Learning from the people. It's the interaction with the people. And that's a basic prerequisite to being a recruiter. You have to be a people's person. You have to understand the other person's perspectives. You have to see where that person is coming from. And that creation of balance between what the candidate wants and what the organization wants. And, that teaches you a lot in your personal life as well. So I think that is the part I enjoy the most.
What challenges have you faced in recruitment and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so if we talk about the challenges, it's obviously filling some of the critical positions. That's a big challenge because there are some resources who are actually liked by all the companies, and making the offer sound good to them, and being honest about it as well. So you have to make sure honesty is a big thing in any domain, but in recruitment, it's very important that you be honest with the candidates as well. So the challenge was that filling up the critical positions, and secondly, obviously when you're a recruiter, you're contacted 24/7 by the candidates. So trying to learn to have that work-life balance. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that recruiters face because they're being contacted at, being sent 2 to 3 minutes voice notes at least at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, and, catering all those people so that someone doesn't feel bad and, answering everyone. So that is a big challenge, I think.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're currently doing in your most recent role and who you're hiring and in what geographic locations you're focusing on at the moment?
We're Oak Street Technologies. We're actually located in Islamabad, Pakistan. We've been operating in Pakistan since October 2021. So it's been around 3 years. We're 235 strong, and the domains that we're hiring for, that's, primarily, if I talk about the technical side, we have software developers, we have quality assurance engineers, then we have business analysts, then we have product owners, then we have your DevOps engineers, then you have your networking department. So we're IT software house as well. So these are the technical positions that we need to fill, and we've been filling it for the last, you can say I've been doing that for the last more than 2 years. About the non-technical positions, we have accounting, we have payroll, we have HR, we have US HR as well. Since we're a US-based company, so our HR is different, which is contemporary HR in Pakistan, and US HR is different. Then we have accounting, payroll, US accounting, US payroll, support staff. Obviously you need admin wherever you're working. So yeah, these are some of the roles that we're hiring.
Can you walk us through a typical recruitment process? What steps are involved from sourcing all the way to hiring, and in particular, how that is prevalent in Pakistan?
Sourcing is basically, you start with the getting the resources. You sit down with the hiring manager, whatever requirement they have. You get to a point where you are ready to make a JD, the job description, right? And when you have the job description, you place your ads on different platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, social media. In some cases, you also have to use the local newspapers as well, depending on what is the niche that you're actually targeting, right? So once you place the ads, you receive applications, right? You're receiving applications. Then there's a stage where the creativity of a recruiter comes in, and that process is personalized to a recruiter. What I do do is that I make sure that this candidate, we do the long listing first. It happens that you take out the relevant CVs only, then you go towards the short listing, and then there are CVs that are relevant. You give them a call, you do their initial screening. That initial screening data is basically shared with the hiring manager and the management of that department. So then they tell us that these people are relevant to what we need. So you have to see they're culturally fit, they are what they're looking, the hiring managers at that specific point. Their cultural fit, their technical fit, they are personality fit for the organization. So we actually then schedule these people for the interviews, and the first two interviews, they're technical interviews. First interview is taken by, like, if it's a front end developer, right? So the front end head of that specific would stack would be taking the interview. After that is done, the second interview comes in, which is going to be taken by a technical head of the IT department, right? So then your technical evaluations are done. The next interview is taken by the head of the IT management, who actually just sees your personality, whether it is going to be a good fit among the front of the company that he has. Like, if you talk about, I just told you I have 235 resources, so 120 of those are based in IT. So the manager would see that whether this guy will fit with 120 people, is not going to be any nuisance for the company, for the people. After that interview is successful, then we go towards the final interview, which is with the CEO. So the CEO basically sees normally that something that none of other people have noticed. It's like seeing that person fit into the company's culture. So that is what the CEO sees, and the CEO might, talk about the salary, the expectations, those things as well. Where are you living? Your family, that kind of stuff. After the CEO has done, then you go towards offering that candidate. You place that offer, you decide a time, what notice period they're serving, they join in, then it's your onboarding. So onboarding has a specific time period. I think that's about it.
And what are some of your best practices over the years that you think are very relevant and needed in the industry?
If you talk about me, Shahrose Hassan, so for me, my success is, if someone I've interacted with, whether he's a selected candidate, he's a rejected candidate, when he says something good about me, that, you've been helpful, you've given me moral support. So coming to that, I think the personalization to each and every candidate, that is very important. I mean, you cannot work the same way with everyone. Everyone has a different personality. Some people would be patient, some would be impatient. So personalization, where does that come in? Firstly, when I send an interview invite to anyone, I make sure I'm personalizing with them. So what's the first step towards personalizing? That's basically reaching them out on WhatsApp, sending them the website of the company, sending them the location, everything, right? So that they know that they're actually concerned about me. So the candidate should get that feel, right? Afterwards, if the candidate is not selected, I tell them you send an email, and I will make sure you get a detailed feedback. So even if, according to our policy, you apply after 6 months, because if you get rejected, you cannot apply for the same role in the 6 months. That's our policy, right? So even if you're applying after 6 months, you have a chance and you have worked on those things. So I think personalization comes at each and every, attending the person when he's coming on site for the interview. If he's coming online, attending them and not making them wait. Time is precious for everyone. I mean, I'm feeling for that 60 seconds that you waited for me. So time is precious. So you have to realize, you have to personalize with each and every candidate, and you have to make sure that you're giving them their due respect. And I think respect is of the utmost importance with the candidates. So I think that's where my specialty lies.
It just reminded me of, I've stopped going into the office for many years, but pre-COVID, it just reminded me of waiting for your interviewee, letting them come up, guiding them. I love that.
They're just little gestures. Like if the candidate is waiting, you ask your office boy to give them water, ask them for tea or coffee. I mean, these are little gestures. They don't cost much, but this is what I think real employer branding is which is very important for recruitment. So employer branding is a very important prerequisite for recruitment. You are basically, after some months, you will see what image of the company is there. The people will talk good things about the company, even though I did not get selected. But man, the way they received me, the way they treated me, even after I got rejected, they were concerned. I called him up and he answered my call. He talked to me for 15 minutes and he explained me. He was pushing me. So I think those things are very important for a recruiter.
Well, the next question for me was going to be, how do you ensure a positive candidate experience through the recruitment process? How do you ensure a positive experience for the candidate through the recruitment process?
Part of it is something I've answered, but it's about, giving them a positive energy, positive. I think that's about it. What I just said, that you be concerned about them. You're giving candidates their due respect, their due space, positive experience, and other than that, I think these things I just said, they're pretty much it. So if there's something I'm missing, you can add.
Candidate-wise, I think it's also the directness and transparency element of it, right?
Like I told you at the start, it's the honesty.
It's the honesty.
I'm also a trainer, by the way. So I do my training sessions and development sessions in the company. So T&D is my second favorite function in the HR, recruitment being the first. So this is something I was telling in yesterday's training session, that one of the worst things that you can do to yourself is lying. So, being truthful or holding the truth, that are two best policies according to me. So what I do is, even, there are tons of people who reach out to me on LinkedIn regarding job. I don't give them false hope. I tell them that we're not hiring for this, but you can, if the stacks relate, you can send the CV to our official email. And even if you're not hiring for any time, I am sincere with them. I tell them the truth. I say that this is my number, send me your CV on WhatsApp, and I will share it with my contacts. So the transparency part that you said, that is very important. And thank you for reminding me. Straightforwardness is a big challenge. I don't know, my exposure is limited mostly to Pakistan. But in Pakistan, straightforwardness and being truthful is a very rare thing. So you have to be I think straightforwardness and truthfulness is one thing that I've learned over years. It's so crucial. Many people, to make their candidates or to manipulate, fill the positions, in a hurry. They lie to so many people. They give false hopes to so many people. And eventually, the employer, there is so much on LinkedIn, you can see, the branding of this destroyed of the employer. Like, people are posting about the company that they didn't reach out to me, they've done this. So I think for your brand and your company's brand, it is essential to be upfront, straightforward, and truthful.
And it plays into the employer branding, right? Who are you? What do you do? What are the most valuable lessons you've learned as a recruiter, both professionally and personally?
Professionally, something I've learned as a recruiter. Firstly, we can come to personally. I think that's something that correlates with professional as well. Patience, perseverance. Rising again in the name after rejection. One of the most important ones, because you can get rejected so many times and then you have to come back again. So ultimately there comes a point when you become immune to rejection. So it's that part as well. These are qualities that help you in professional and personal life both. Other than that, as a recruiter, I've seen how people can be when they're in their vulnerable selves, maybe. That's one thing. So these are some of the qualities at large that help you develop other skills.
Would you recommend others into recruitment?
Only if you're a people's person, you're not short-tempered, you have patience, you have tolerance, only then.
And what are some of the best ways to learn more about the field? I would love to know how you actually got into recruitment. So most people, what we say, there's a saying in the West, is we fell into it. somehow something came up. So how was the journey for you?
Basically, I started, like I told you, I started from an NGO, and when I joined in as an HR assistant, so the main function of the HR assistant is to get all the work that is not done by the seniors, or to shadow in most of the functions. So it's filing, it's either shadowing in most of the functions, that's recruitment, selection, rewards and recognition, compensation and benefits, those kind of functions. So I shadowed in most of it, but I did not join recruitment. So that's, when I joined Netcom, there I was one of the first recruiters who got into GSC in Pakistan, basically Global Service Center. So what the GSC process was like, there was a Chinese who was taking the interview. Then they had an interpreter who used to interpret the Chinese language into English for the candidate, and I was the one who was moderating in Pakistan. So basically, that is the exposure I got in Netcom. And the remote hiring, it was mostly remote hiring. So, we had to fill the positions urgently, and, the adrenaline of filling those positions, getting, rewarded and, pat on the back for that. I think that was a very encouraging experience, and that's something that pushed me towards recruitment. And something I realized early in life was that I am a people's person. I love speaking to people in my training sessions, even if it's a crowd of 500. I've given trainings to 500 people as well. So that is something I love and I enjoy. So that is one thing I told you. I mean, you have to be a people's person. You will, if you have fallen into recruitment, and you will fall out of it if you're not people's person. So that is one thing. You have to be a people's person. So, I mean, I fell into that. I was interacting with Middle Eastern resources, hiring for Huawei, and there was that exposure that you get from other people's experience. I mean, when you're looking at a CV who has 9-10 years of experience, you see they have so much. You're also learning about those companies. You're also learning about that person's experience in those companies. So that is something that charmed me a lot towards recruitment, and that made it my favorite function in the HR.
Why do you think recruitment is so valuable to companies and employers, and how can they extract more value from this function?
A company cannot survive without the right resources. I'm talking about the human resources. So you have to have a vision, a mission, and then the values. And these obviously flowed from the top management, right? So your CEO, the ownership, they basically make the vision, then the mission comes, then your core values and those things come. So you expand on those things. So I think recruiters function comes in at bringing the right people who can support that vision, support that mission, support those core values in the longer run. And so it is a big challenge because the market is everybody is trying to get the job, right? Considering there are so many potential candidates, and then you have to bring the right people in the right role. So the value comes in. I mean, your mission, your vision cannot survive without the right resources. So I cannot put more value in recruitment by saying that. And how organizations can put more value? Recruitment has to be for specifically the kinds of startups that are taking place in Pakistan and worldwide. It is essential that recruitment be separated from the common HR, the other HR functions. And the reason is recruitment is a department that has to function on its own, that has to be provided its own space, so that the strategic decisions of the company, they're not disturbed by day-to-day operations.
Any other place where they can connect with you on social medias, etc.?
I ask my candidates to reach me out anywhere they want. That's completely fine. But LinkedIn is like a professional platform. I think Pakistanis are professional enough to reach me out on LinkedIn. I've seen very few candidates. I mean, there were some resources of mine from previous companies. After I left the company, they added me on Facebook. But I have never been honestly contacted by candidates on my personal social platforms like Instagram, Facebook, but they always reach out to me on LinkedIn, and my number is always accessible for everyone who wants to reach out to me. And I have also done calls with them for like 30 minutes, 1 hour with my resources. So that's something you have to do as an HR professional, whether it's your candidate, whether it's your resource, because your resource was once your candidate. And so you can't say that your concern is for your resource only. You have to be concerned. It's about the human beings that you have to be concerned about in HR. So because it's human resources, it's not your candidate resources, or it's not.
How do you go about managing the passive talent? So as you said, there's only one candidate that can get the job. There's hundreds almost in this climate left over. So how do you manage those for future listings?
Okay, so we keep in touch, basically. Like I told you before, there are some critical positions, right? Passive candidates mostly fill those critical positions, because for an easy position, you will get a person who's continuously looking for a job. I mean, I place an ad for a software engineer, a junior software engineer. I will easily get so many applications. But if you're looking for those specific stacks, senior resources, technical leads, principal software engineers, maybe the vice president of IT, maybe the senior manager IT. These positions, there are obviously the higher you go, the lesser people there are in the market, right? That's obvious. So you keep in touch with them, like you have their contact, you meet them, you even meet them. Yeah, that happens. So you're keeping an eye on the potential candidate. We have a very senior resource coming in from another company, a very big company. So that tracking was done for some time, and they're now serving a notice period of 2 months. And the current company is in those 2 months, the current company is also renegotiating with them. So, I mean, it's the work that keeps on going. And ultimately, it's not just that. Like I told you, it's in each and everything. It's treating everyone. Like, I will give you an example. Let's see, I'm in contact with the vice president of another company of IT, right? He sends in a junior resource just to get interviewed, just to see the culture of the company. Now, if I have not done my employer branding right, if I don't give him a good experience, if I don't work on the treating the candidate right, so I am actually ruining the experience, ruining the brand of the company at large. So you cannot go like you have passive resources, you have passive candidates that are working at very good positions in other companies. You just treat them right, and for the junior resources, you give them some other. So that is a big problem for some companies in Pakistan, I will tell you that. But the consistency to treat everyone at every level, whether it's a passive candidate, whether it's a active candidate, so that is something. The criticality of it comes basically when they're joining, you give them certain perks, certain privileges. Obviously, that comes with the position. So there the criticality comes in. But other than that, you have to make sure you're consistent with your attitude, with your practice, so that one cannot say that he is a hypocrite, I would say.
Having spoken to you, I love how fulfilled you feel by the role as well. And you only feel that when you're really pushing within the company and they recognize you and everything's working harmoniously. So very, very well done. I really love that Pakistan's growing. I like that the professional area is almost very separate from everything else. Everyone's motivated. How do you find the strategic growth will be? Like when you look at yourself and your career and your development, do you see a career path that seems sustainable for you and for others as well?
In terms of recruitment, I think strategically speaking, it will, ultimately, if I talk in terms of HR, I mean, for example, if you have to be a CHRO in the future, Chief Human Resources Officer, you have to make sure there are certain functions that you have served the position So you must have worked in recruitment, you must have worked in rewards and recognition, total rewards, you worked in compensation and benefits. So it's important you've touched all those. So there are two trajectories for a person who's working as a recruiter. It's either he makes his way, like if I'm working as an assistant manager HR right now, let's see, there is a technical recruiter, assistant manager recruitment, let's see. Then he should see that if he wants to be, all HR encompassing, he has to make sure that he goes for manager rewards position and make that. The second category is that who wants to be associated with one function only. There are training people, there are training professionals who just want to be associated with training and development. There are recruitment. If I talk about recruitment, what happens is you're a technical recruiter, and some technical recruiters are getting more money than maybe director HR as well. They're being paid more because of their experience and their pool of candidates. So you would see on LinkedIn, there are a lot of recruiters who basically put their number of followers in the headline, right? So there's a reason for that. So the company that's going to approach them, they'll know that they have this amount of following. And if there is a requirement for some specific position, they will fill it immediately because they have this number of followers and this much reach. So for a recruiter, designation sometimes won't even matter, because he would either be a technical recruiter getting more money than director HR. Maybe he will move towards director recruitment. Some companies have that as well. But beyond director, there is something you can maybe go for recruitment consultancy, where that is something that you do when you've outgrown the company you're working in. So there comes that you've started your own business, you would understand what I'm saying. Like you outgrow the company you're working for, and you just want to serve at large. So at that point in time, I think you become a recruitment consultant, and many people in our market, they are recruitment consultants. But since our own economy is not that strong, so I would say whichever successful company is working in Pakistan right now, they're associated with a foreign company, like we're a US-based company. So these recruitment consultants, they are also associated with, companies in the UK, companies in the US, in the West.
Yeah, I love it. I love the growth of Hassan.